Chapter 17 Shivakeshwan. The Winter Olympics, a major sporting event, was held in Chamonix, France in 1924. Initially, the Summer and Winter Olympics were held in the same years. However, in 1986, the International Olympic Committee decided to hold the Summer and Winter Olympics on separate 4-year cycles in alternating even-numbered years. In 1992, the Games were finally bifurcated and the Winter Games were held separately from 1996. As the Games progressed, new events like luge, freestyle skiing, and short-track speed skating were added to the event. Sled racing is one of the oldest of winter sports, as the first recorded sled races took place during 15th century in Norway. In fact, it is believed that the Vikings built the first luge sleds and took part in sled racing in 800 AD. The first Olympic luge competition took place in 1964 in Innsbruck, Austria. Luge is the French word for sledging. It is a small sled made for 1 or 2 persons. The sleds used in the Olympics are made of steel, wood, and other high-performance materials like carbon fiber and Kevlar. The events are for both men and women in singles and mixed doubles categories. To add to the excitement of ardent lugers, this year a team relay event is being added to the list of luge events at the Olympics. Luge is one of the fastest sports of the Winter Olympics. A tiny error like brushing against the track wall causes a very large time delay. If the ice is soft, speeds become slower, so hard surfaces are preferred as they help the speed to improve. The luger or slider lies on his back and slides down an ice track, feet first. The track is an artificially refrigerated unit about 1.5 km long. Lugers or sliders, as they are more commonly called, reach speeds of 140 km per hour. Different tracks around the world have different conditions, and each requires a different equipment setup and has its own unique high speed. The highest recorded speed is 154 km on the Vancouver track. Our own luger Shivakeshwan has the Asian speed record 149.9 km per hour at Vancouver and 134.4 km per hour at Nagano, Japan. This in itself is a feat, as the luger have to keep their heads up to see where they are going. As hard as it might seem, the sliders had to be calm and relaxed, and at the same time mentally and physically alert. It is also all about using their calves and shoulders correctly and making subtle body positions all through the race. The sliders press down their left shoulders and right calves and their right shoulders and left calves to turn their sleds, while speeding through curves depending upon the way the track turns. All the while the slider is being timed by a timer to the thousandth of a second. This is one of the most precisely timed sports. You can well imagine how totally focused a slider must be as he steers the luge through the more than a kilometer of straights and curves, and sometimes even a smaller rise at high speeds. There are times when the head of the slider feels as though it is 5 times heavier than the weight of his body. It is unimaginable how the athlete feels at such times and what control he needs to exercise to keep his head off the track. For the kind of risk the slider takes, the protective gear he wears is not much. All that is permitted is a helmet and a visor. It is therefore essential that a slider goes through endurance training and begins this training while he or she is very young. He or she should have strong neck, and his upper body muscles, abdominal and thigh muscle must also be very strong. Natural track luge, different from artificial track luge, is not yet an Olympic sport. It is adapted where there are mountain roads and paths. The surface of the track is horizontal and naturally covered with ice. The athletes use a steering rein and drag their hands and legs to go round tight corners. They must brake in front of curves with the assistance of spikes at the bottom of their shoes. Natural luge is practiced in a rudimentary form called rari even in some hilly areas of India. The skill and level of difficulty involved in the sport makes us all the more proud of our own very luge athlete, Shiva Keshwan, India's sole Olympic luge athlete. Shiva Keshwan's father is from Kerala and his mother is an Italian. He was born in small Himalayan village in Himachal Pradesh, which is the home of winter sports in India. Keshwan studied at the Lawrence School, Sanavar. He completed his higher education in humanities and political sciences from the Caesar Alfred University of Florence and also received a master's degree in international relations from the same university. In 2002, he received an offer to represent Italy in winter sports, but declined saying, "I am an Indian and want to contribute to the country I was born in." He married Namita Agarwal, a former classmate, who is now also his sports manager. Keshwan has now represented India at 5 Winter Olympics. He also has the distinction of being the youngest Olympian as he participated in the Winter Olympics in 1998 at Nagano, situated in the Chubu region on the Japanese island of Honshu, when he was just 16. This talented young man is the fastest slider in Asia, having set a new speed record at 134.3 km/h and won a gold medal at Nagano in 2011. He followed it up by winning gold medals again in 2012 and setting a new Asian track record at 49.590 seconds. In 2013, won a silver medal at the same event. Now that you know a little bit about the sport, you can well imagine the kind of training and coaching required to be among the few selected to represent their countries at the Winter Olympics. So how did this great adventure start? Shiva and his friends made roller sleds with wood and bearings and sped down the mountain roads of his home state in the summer and constructed skis out of metal sheets and wood to ski down snow-covered slopes in winter. Thus the desire to compete in winter sports took birth in the heart of a courageous young man. In 1995, Keshwan attended a luge camp conducted by the world champion Gunther Lammerer, who had been appointed by the International Luge Federation to find athletes who had in them to be luge pilots. That was the year Keshwan had won the Junior National Ski Championship. He was just 14. Lammerer saw a potential luge pilot in Keshwan, and the young boy never looked back. Keshwan, who was inspired by a film called Cool Runnings, races down the hilly roads of Himachal on sleds that have wheels. No doubt he has to keep an eagle eye out for potholes, loaded trucks and the occasional flock of sheep that he skillfully curves around. He says that he once even went under a truck. Keshwan has also built his own sleds with wood, molded fiberglass and filed metal blades. He got the local car mechanic to do a paint job on his creations. It has been uphill all the way. Strange, for when he reached the top, he sped downhill strapped to his luge on the luge track and made history. Keshwan had no coach or professional team to back him up. India has no loose track, in spite of having the highest mountain range in the world. This made our practice a difficult task, and an expensive one as well. Keshwan has even had to borrow sleds at competitions. There is also the cost of travel and staying in hotels, having a full-time coach and purchasing the prescribed gear to take part in the events. But where there is a will, there will always be a way. India is now becoming more confident about sending athletes to the Winter Games. In the 2009-2010 Olympic season, Keshwan finally received the recognition and support of the Indian government by being trained by an official coach, and the same was repeated in 2013-14. At the time, he was supported by the Swiss International Airlines, Reebok and the Limca Book of Records. Today, he is supported by Coca-Cola, Swiss International Airlines, and the Olympic Gold Quest.